Rabindranath Tagore 1861 to 1941. Rabindranath Tagore was born in Kolkata to a deeply religious family of landowners. His father Devendranath was a man of integrity, spiritual acumen, and strength of character. He cast a deep impact on Rabindranath in the formative years of life. Like many other children of aristocratic families of that time, the major part of Rabindranath's childhood was spent in servants' quarters under the care and authority of those who served his family. His first lessons were from the Bengali primer Varna Paricha. Later, he joined the Oriental Seminary, then the Normal School, which followed the teaching-learning pattern of English schools. He sought admission to the Bengali Academy in order to gain a grounding in English. He remained far from happy in school. The rooms were dismal, in fact, the entire building was unsuitable for human habitation. There were no pictures, not a stroke of color, nothing that would motivate the students to attend school. Naturally, many of them played truant. Those who did attend school regularly would remain filled with depression. Tagore 1966. The grim, monotonous, unhappy experience in school compelled him to consolidate his ideas on meaningful education and revolutionize the whole process of education. Tagore was opposed to the Western system of education that emphasized learning from books with the sole objective of developing the intellectual potential of the child. He believed that education should be aimed not merely to develop the intellect but the complete personality of the child. An education system should cultivate and nurture among children the ability to learn directly from nature and life as such. Students should lead a simple, self-disciplined life based on the virtues of sociability, compassion, and the spirit of brotherhood. According to him, moral and spiritual values constituted the most important aspect of education. He criticized Western education for treating the child as a receiver of packaged information in a way that did not awaken his own creativity and innate abilities. The children, in turn, pick up bits and pieces out of the information thrust upon them and present themselves for examination of their ability to retain the information. According to Tagore, it was not enough to pass on information. What was important was the ability to put to use what one has learnt and to develop curiosity and alertness of mind. The child should be able to appreciate a sense of freedom acquired by free movements of the body in the midst of the natural environment. It may be understood at this stage itself that for Tagore, education stood for freedom from ignorance and from passion and prejudice. He upheld that the child learns the first lessons on freedom from nature, which is the basic source of knowledge. According to Tagore, the ideal school should be established in the midst of fields, trees, and plants under the open sky and far removed from human settlements. This would keep the children away from the turmoils of daily life. More importantly, living in the forest was associated with austere pursuits and renunciation. Firm on his ideas, Tagore set out to develop an appropriate system of national education for India. He founded the Ashram School at Santiniketan in 1901 with emphasis on non-duality, Advait, in the domain of knowledge, friendship for all, fulfillment of one's duties without concern for the outcome. Here education was combined with disciplining of the senses and one's own life. In talking about education for life, Tagore did not ignore the significance of science teaching. He did value inventions and discoveries insofar as they made life less burdensome. What he condemned, however, was the race for material prosperity at the cost of creative genius and dignity. he expressed the view that the current education system was not geared to inculcate the ability to think independently. According to Tagore, teaching through a foreign language was both difficult and unrealistic. He was opposed to borrowed knowledge that distanced pupils from their own social and cultural fabric. He said that education which imparts knowledge but bears no relevance to life situations is of no avail. He said that the curriculum should be developed by teachers and students together. It should be based on their needs and requirements. He laid stress on discussion as a mode of delivery of knowledge. The books should serve as mere supplements to knowledge acquired through life situations and independent thinking. Learning should proceed from familiar situations to unfamiliar situations. This meant that children should be made familiar with their own environment before exposing them to alien ones. They should be encouraged to learn from and about the natural phenomena that they encounter in their daily lives. Salkar, 1990, wrote that Tagore was aware that children store in their brains the images of all that they observe. This was more marked in the early period of childhood when curiosity is sharp. He favored teaching of history and geography through field exposure by way of educational tours to specific places for learning and widening of horizons. He wanted to set up a school based on his ideals for which he travelled far and wide. Tagore settled at Santiniketan where he founded the Brahmacharya ashram with only 5 students. The emphasis here was on a personalized relationship between teachers and pupils. Tagore himself taught English in the ashram school. He would narrate stories from Indian history in the evening to the children. Having prepared the ground for school education, he diverted attention to higher education and established the Visva Bharati. Tagore on Visva Bharati. In every nation, education is intimately associated with the life of the people. For us, modern education is relevant only to turning out clerks, lawyers, doctors, magistrates and policemen. This education has not reached the farmer, the oil grinder, or the potter. No other educated society has been struck with such disaster. If ever a truly Indian university is established, it must from the very beginning implement India's own knowledge of economics, agriculture, health, medicine, and of all other everyday knowledge from the surrounding villages. Then alone can the school or university become the center of the countries of living. This school must practice agriculture, dairying, and weaving using the best modern methods. I have proposed to call this school Visva Bharati. He believed that the basic task of education was to produce, gather, develop, and disseminate knowledge to the younger generation. In the Visva Bharati, 2 autonomous institutions survive: the Kala Bhavan, the School of Fine Arts, and Sangeet Bhavan, the School of Music and Dance. Tagore is no more, but the ideals of education he laid down and the institutions he established keep him alive in the minds of the people.